بهره برداری امن از موبایل و اینترنت، زن، حقوق فردی و اجتماعی، سازوکارهای جلوگیری از نقض حقوق بشر، پویشی در مفهوم دموکراسی، مروری بر پایگیری نهادهای مدنی در ایران، اندیشه‌های نوین از حقوق کارگران، آموزش خبرنگاری، حقوق شهروندی امروز و محیط زیست. توانا، رایگان توانایی ما را به سمت انسان امروزین جهانی متمدن تازه می کند. برای شرکت در این کلاس ها به توانا.org بروید و با جیمیل مستعار ثبت نام کنید. از طریق فیسبوک، توییتر و شبکه یوتیوب می توانید آموزشکده توانا را دنبال کنید. توانا آموزشکده است برای جامعه مدنی ایران.
My name is Zhenya Belyakov, and I work at the Civitas Russia Foundation, and we've been working in the field of civic education for pretty much almost like 20 years by now. In my background, I'm a professional psychologist, and but also learned a lot on the way about political science. So this is pretty much what I am today.
Great.
If I can go back into history a little bit, and there is some personal history behind it actually. I started working with the American Federation of Teachers first, and before I started, I was translating as a freelance interpreter for the AFL-CIO in Moscow, and the boss of that office, he asked me if I wanted to have a full-time job with AFT. And that time it was 1993, when the country, Russia, was in big economic, so should I say it politely, turmoil. So, and actually I asked myself one question, and that question was two questions. If I go for this job working with the American Federation of Teachers in the and civic education, that were two fields of work for American Federation of Teachers, will it hurt someone? And I answered no. And then the second question was, can it do any good? And the second answer was yes. So it took 10 seconds, and this is how I switched from being a professional psychologist at that time to a civic educator further in the future. That was my original decision. But of course, it was not as simple or as story-like as I'm telling. Certainly, every person who wants to live a good life, even egotistically speaking, everybody would like to see a good. Everybody would like to have a good place to live in, and that place is your city, your country, people around you. So I believe that willing to have a nice place to live in and good people around you is pretty much like in human nature. So I followed that human nature type of a call and enjoyed every minute of working in that field, because it actually is a very satisfying thing when you see that even small changes that you can make They really do improve students' lives. They really improve the climate. They provide some better understanding for young people and for teachers. And we work mostly with teachers and young people. That is a very satisfying thing. So probably answering this question would be satisfaction that you get from improving life around you. That's what motivates me personally. Like I said earlier, the type of human and professional satisfaction that I get from the job lies in the field of the change that we can make with what we do. And generally speaking, my objective, my personal objective, is to make the place in which I live a better place, an easier place to live in, a nicer place to live in, a place where people relate to themselves as human beings with respect, with understanding, since we're going to be talking about privacy, with understanding where is the private life, where is the public life, what I can expect from other people, so that the world is kind of an easygoing thing. That would be my major goal. Talking of objectives, the application of our work and my work too is in education. So objectives naturally are teaching teachers about how to better teach kids, to teach kids in the environment that will go along with the content that they're going to be teaching, which is a democratic environment with active methodology, with a lot of freedom in the course of lessons. Certainly provide experiences, and this is what I want to stress, experiences that will be planted in children so that they have a model, sensual and intellectual experience that they can relate in their future lives. And in this respect, certainly Project Citizen is one of the best tools I ever learned and applied in children and well, the good news is that Project Citizen that I'm talking about is widely known in many countries today, all over the world. But for those who don't know, Project Citizen is a methodology that is a learning project that allows children to explore social life around them, to see what the things are that need to be changed, then think about why things are not go so well, and think of the policy or the rule, or generally speaking, a kind of a change that can be done in their neighborhood, in the region, in their state, in their country, and solve the problem that exists. And there's a whole process that helps children on the way. They're working in different teams. They apply different skills, skills of interviewing, skills of research, skills of analysis, etc. And they come to one policy or one rule or one major idea that they believe, and they have to prove it, will change their local world for the better. And then they, of course, they defend their point of view. Today, it's pretty obvious that political environment in Russia has been changing from a young, immature democracy back to authoritarian country. This is what has been happening for the last, I would say, 8-10 years. Very soon after Yeltsin resigned. It is especially obvious during the last couple of years when we saw a lot of new laws adopted that are limiting freedoms in the country, and that actually abuse constitutional foundations of democratic Russia today. So that's kind of an environment that we have today. How that, and that's same true for education and for the children. Project Citizen was a much more popular and much more promising project even 2 or 3 years ago. It's becoming more and more, unfortunately today it's becoming a little bit more formal. The good thing about it, though, is that when children are involved, they still are very sincere about the change that they want to produce. And even guided by cautious school educators, and unfortunately, school educators had to watch the topics that children pick. But even with that, even with picking up the topics that look, quote unquote, so political, it's still a very good learning tool when children understand that there are always things that they can apply their skills, their will to change, and so it's not as the environment not as good as before, but Project Citizen so far serves. There are several, further I will give several examples which will illustrate the issues and the conflicts about the right to privacy. But first, before doing that, to provide you with the context of privacy and some bordering concepts. I do believe that, and it's not just my opinion, it's pretty much common sense, that there is a little border between privacy and freedom, because freedom falls more into a public category, while privacy tend to stay in a private area. But both concepts presume that there is something that you only have a right to decide about. Privacy just refers to a particular sphere of life or particular acts that are considered to be none of anybody's business. In communist times, and actually before too, but certainly in communist times or in Soviet times, to be more precise, privacy was certainly an issue. because a person or a citizen was supposed to have mostly interests for the common good, not for the private good. And thus privacy was neglected and was sort of suppressed. Like your public good and good of the collective and good of the country and good of the city will be on the first place. Nobody would say that. To give you an example from the past, and I think it would be pretty much a good example. If it will not be unusual when like you have a divorce, you are supposed to give a report at the party meeting or at the meeting at your workplace, like, why do you have a divorce? And that was certainly a matter of discussion, and your colleagues and or if you were a member of the party or a trade union or a komsomol, they would be trying to persuade you not to do that and discuss your moral behavior. Or another example would be like in the 60s, if you wear long hair and if you listen to rock and roll or twist or shake or whatever, it was considered to be bourgeois music and immoral style. So there will be like public militia, not a police, but like a volunteer groups of young people who would go and catch those who have long hair, and they bring them to hairdressers and cut their hair. So that kind of thing. These times had gone, but issues still remain. For a long time, homosexuality was considered to be a crime. It was decriminalized not long ago, probably 10, 12 years. I wouldn't give you an exact date, but we're talking about 10, 12 years. Today, it's coming back. We recently witnessed a new bill that became a law, which, though it's saying that propaganda of homosexuality is not allowed, the application of this law is such that you actually cannot talk openly about homosexuality on TV, newspapers, and though it belongs to public life too, still freedom of expression suffers, and that again brings people back into kind of isolation and secrecy. Another examples of issues of privacy would be that government wants to regulate, for example, where people live, and they want people to be registered. They want people to live at those places where they are registered. And if you move from one place to another, you have 1 or 2 days to register at a new place. So if you have 2 homes, you have actually register in one place and then move to another place and register again. If you move to friends, you have to register with friends. And this may sound ridiculous, but that certainly is a violation of privacy, because it's none of anybody's business where I live. And it's none of the government business to know where I live. It's pretty much like to know how I live and what I do in my private life. the even more important issues about privacy today are related to internet usage. There's a very big pressure today in Russia about opening up IP addresses of those people who could be anti-government actions and or as government says, terrorist-related and extremist-related issues. When extremism is considered to be a person takes part in a demonstration or a rally, you may understand that control over the internet is certainly an interference into private life. And it is a very dangerous, I believe, tendency when the government really wants to have power over my communication and what I write and what I do in private, what is not intended for public use. So that's a few. Of course, it's not all or everything that there are more issues about privacy, but just to give you some examples, I would probably mention those. Even in Soviet times, there was the dissidents that lived during the Soviet times. They were using very simple motto. They were addressing authorities with the phrase which was respect your constitution. I think that the most important thing that we can do about that is to keep concentration on Constitution and major rights and freedoms that are in Constitution and to teach about it. Because when you teach that to children, the natural curiosity of students will certainly bring them to issues that exist in the country. And even when the teacher cannot have all the answers, it's not as important as for the students to have those questions. So my first answer would be to teach about Constitution and basic human rights. So that's one. Second, like I said earlier, experiential things like Project Citizen, which provides children with the experience of change made due to their effort, is certainly another very, very good tool, because children will value the change that they make, and they will value not only the change that they will make, but they will understand why people want the change, and that there's also a very basic freedom for any person to ask for change, to work for change, to express themselves for change, etc. So I believe that's basic things that we can do as educators. Of course, there are other things that we can do as citizens or as political activists, and that's pretty much is happening in Russia today, and it's growing. We saw since December 2011, we saw a major change in public attitude to politics. We saw tens of thousands of people going out in the street and demanding fair election, demanding respect to human rights, to constitution, to laws. And I'm very positive that that's not going to stop. I cannot say that we had any coalition regarding this particular issue. Generally, I think that though privacy can be on the list and should be on the list of issues to teach about, but it's more of a providing a model, and rather than about teaching. There is not so much to teach about privacy, but providing a model or exploring different cases when privacy is being breached. That's certainly something to have in mind. The good example of a partnership that we have in teaching about issues of private versus public life it's not as big as it was before, but we used to have a very good partnership with St. Petersburg Law School. It's a small private higher education institution, and we had developed a little curriculum on some major human rights issues involving privacy. For example, one of the most remembered issues that we explored was the issue of hijab wearing, and that certainly refers to the issue of privacy. Like, will wearing hijab be a violation of freedom of expression? Has the government a right to not to allow wearing hijab? Is hijab a threat to public freedom, etc., etc.? So that was one of the issues that we explored together, and we had a couple lessons regarding that issue and several other lessons regarding other issues of freedom, privacy, and human rights. Certainly, I'm not in the position. Certainly, I'm not in the position to teach, but I do have feelings and emotions and the message also. And probably I would like to say that here in Russia, we know that living with the authoritarian regime is depressing, is no fun, and there is no good, humane future with it. When I look around the world, I see many places where governments do not respect freedom, which, if you ask any living human being, would be probably the basic value that a person may have. So my message is, let's go on. I mean, we will survive. We will not surrender, certainly, and we shall overcome. And let's just keep that fire within us, the fire that leads our lives with the light of freedom. That's the most important.
بهره برداری امن از موبایل و اینترنت، زن، حقوق فردی و اجتماعی، سازوکارهای جلوگیری از نقض حقوق بشر، پویشی در مفهوم دموکراسی، مروری بر پایگیری نهادهای مدنی در ایران، اندیشه‌های نوین از حقوق کارگران، آموزش خبرنگاری، حقوق شهروندی امروز و محیط زیست. توانا، رایگان توانایی ما را به سمت انسان امروزین جهانی متمدن تازه می کند. برای شرکت در این کلاس ها به توانا.org بروید و با جیمیل مستعار ثبت نام کنید. از طریق فیسبوک، توییتر و شبکه یوتیوب می توانید آموزشکده توانا را دنبال کنید. توانا، آموزشکده است برای جامعه مدنی ایران.